First note the 4 space quadrants and 9 time dimensions. The 4 outer time dimensions are the most critical to understanding the HoloMind perceiver. This is where the radialization of all the different mental and sensory functions occur. The 4 inner or radial time dimensions are integrating units. The 9th time dimension is known as inner core time and is the central coordinating unit. Study the 4 quadrants and note how they are divided by the horizontal 11 and vertical 11 axes. There are 4 quadrants at 100 units each, which is 400 units. This means V11 and H11 are the remaining 41 units for a total of 441. The V11 and H11 axes define the 4 quadrants of the functions of the HoloMind perceiver. Each of the 4 quadrants is identified by the hyperplasma which is channeled through each of the 4 zones. Note that the left side of the brain is beta dominant and the right side is alpha dominant. Back is alpha dominant and front is beta dominant. The 9 time dimensions are sequential and go from upper left to lower right, time dimensions 1 to 4, center left to center right, time dimensions 5 and 6, top to bottom, time dimensions 7 and 8, and the center, 9th time dimension. The vertical axis contains the 48 UR harmonics of the new 6 UR strands. This runs down the corpus callosum. The 48 UR harmonics complement the 64 UR runes. See also Chapter 11 and Cosmic History Chronicles Volume 5, Book of the Time-Space. The 48 UR harmonics define new behavioral capacities for the second creation. They are called harmonics because we are entering a phase of a purely resonant mode. Laterally, we have the behavioral modes of the 48 UR harmonics on the vertical axis of the corpus callosum. The horizontal axis is the electrodynamic axis that connects the front and back of the right and left lobes. These are defined by the 2 electrodynamic force fields. On the right side of the brain is the Dum-Kuali or thermic force field. This connects the first and second quadrants. On the left side of the brain is the Dum-Duar or luminic force field that connects the third and fourth quadrants. With the 48 UR harmonics and electrodynamic force fields, there are 21 units each in the radial time dimensions for a total of 84 units. 21 units in both the upper and lower time dimensions, 7 and 8. 7 runes of each of the 6 strands equals 42 units. In the left and right time dimension, 5th and 6th, are the thermic and luminic force fields, containing 7 neutral charges on either side, of which are also both an activating positive and sublimating negative transformer field that accompanies the force field 7 neutral plus 7 positive plus 7 negative equals 21 units in both the 5th and 6th time dimension equals 42 units. The thermic and luminic force fields complement the zones where the UR harmonics reside. Every unit in the HoloMind perceiver is numbered. The numbering system is positive or negative so that everything is equalized. The positive refers to the activating influence or externalizing influence of a particular field. The positive units are the activating transformers of the force field, and the negative units are the sublimating factors of the force field. Sublimating is the process of internalizing and receiving from within. Activating is the process of externalizing or transmitting without. Everything is either an activating or a sublimating force. Each quadrant is a microcosm with all the same functions as every other quadrant. See next chapter for detailed illustrations. The positive and negative flows are complementary. For example, look at the first time dimension. On the outermost or external time, the first 6 units are activating. In the opposite corner, the first 6 units are sublimating. The first 6 units of the external time flow of the first quadrant are the same, but in the opposite direction as the second, the first and third quadrant external time flows begin on a vertical axis, whereas the second and fourth quadrant external time flows begin on a horizontal axis. Each quadrant has exactly the same function. This means you can begin by studying and familiarizing yourself with one of the 4 quadrants. Then you will understand them all. It is important to fully grasp the function of the 4 outer time dimensions. This is where the sense perceptions are radialized. Study each quadrant and see how it is organized in a specific way. Each quadrant or outer time dimension has 13 units external time zone. Each of the outer time dimensions contain exactly 13 units that define the whole time dimension. This means that each of the 4 outer time zones, where the senses are radialized, is informed by a 13-unit cosmic wave spell function. This helps coordinate the radialization of the senses. Each sense organ has a mundane and a supernatural quality. In each of the external time flows, the 7th unit is always at the corner. So the 7th unit, or the 4 corners of the 441 matrix, are all a function of the power of 7. This is an important point. These 4 sevens create the 28, and the 7 creates the 13. Thus, all the senses are organized by the same frequencies that organize cosmic time and the 13-moon cycle. The 4 sevens that create the 28, which accounts for external time, also accounts for 28 units of external space. Whereas the external unit occurs within the 4 outer time dimensions, the 28 units of the external space always occur within the 4 radial time dimensions in any one of the 4 quadrants. For example, in the 4th quadrant, the first 12 units are in the 8th time dimension, and the last 4 units are in the 6th time dimension. This indicates that the 13 of the external time is the organizational power of the 13 frequency of the cosmic cycle of the wave spell. The 28 external spaces show that the 28-unit frequency of the 28-day standard is organized in the interdimensional space of the radial time dimension. So the 28-day cycle is an actual function of these radial time dimensions. See graphic at the end of chapter 13. Radial space is always organized in 2 flows, starting with 2 units or generators, an activating generator and a sublimating generator. These 2 generators are where the flow starts. This particular pattern creates a U shape on its side. We see how the numbers are called magnitudes, i.e. activating the 12th magnitude, etc. So we have 6 units activating and 6 units sublimating. Then we get to the 9th time dimension, where are found the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th units of every external space flow. These 4 units always correspond to one of the 4 hyperpartons. For example, in the lower right quadrant, we find the light of inner heat, the Chemu hyperparton. This is a high-frequency conversion zone that occurs in the 9th time dimension. The flows continue from the 17th to the 28th unit in the adjacent radial time dimension and then switch polarity. The internal flow is sublimating at one point and activating at another point. This is so the time dimension can have an influence of sublimating and an influence of activating. The external time and space flows show how the 13-month 28-day cycle is coordinated by the different time dimensions. Now turn your attention to the 36 radial sense matrix. There are 4 of these radial sense matrices, 144 units in all, for sensory radialization. Each radial sense perception consists of 2 flows, 6-dimensional ESP flow and 5th force flow. The ESP flow flows on the inside, closest to the center of the matrix. This is 11 units. These are organized as 5 sublimating and 5 activating units, with 6 as the internal coordinating unit. Note that these 6-dimensional ESP flows moderate the 11 magnitudes of 6-dimensional sublimating consciousness as received within the radial sense matrix. The other flow within the radial sense matrix is the 5th force flow. This flow consists of 13 units, just like external time, and surrounds the core of the sense matrix. The 13 units are divided into 6 sublimating and 6 activating units. Notice that the internal coordinating unit of the 5th force is 7. This 7 is always located next to the 7 of external time. The 7 and 6 are also the coordinating units of external time. Note where the 6 is located and how it connects with the hyperparton of the space flows. The diagonal is very important. Just as the 6-dimensional flow moderates the subliminal consciousness, the magnitudes of the 6-dimensional consciousness are organized as extrasensory perception impulses, telepathic, subliminal, etc. Likewise, the 5th force flow coordinates the 5th force flow of superconscious thought flows or thought magnitudes in the 5th mental sphere. These are the flows that coordinate the inner radial sense matrix.